Hello and welcome back to this edition of Daily Actives brought to you by Bootleg Macro. I am Dustin. This is the show where we look at the most active stocks on top of Yahoo Finance for the day. Now, we just looked at NVIDIA. Go watch my other video. We're going to be looking at DJT. I'm going to get my model all set back up so we can get an idea of what is happening inside of NVIDIA, or DJT, excuse me. What a day this stock probably had. Now, if we look, see, so one of the things I want to call out right away is that you can see that I've got some missing data here on the 1 year. And I call this out because so the problem here is that DJT just hasn't been around long enough, but give it some time. This thing is coming right back, I imagine. What we're up here is nearly 6% today. We are down 10% over the 5 days. We're up nearly 15% over 15 days. We're up 74% over 1 month. We are up 50% in 3 months. The price has reflected reality. If we go ahead and look at what we've got here, what I like about what I've seen, if you watched in my previous videos, what I like about what we've seen is that the price has come back into the green background with the black lettering. That means it's in its normal standard distribution range. The price, while it had a great update today of being up 5%, that isn't the most important thing. The most important thing, in my opinion, is the fact that you had over 300 million shares traded over 2 days. The price is back above the 5-day moving average and above the 23-day moving average, but the fact that we are up 300 million shares over 2 days says a lot about what the future says for DJT. Now, when we're going to look here at the signals, we're going to go long in the short term, intermediate term, and longer term. Obviously, yes, we had to go short. You had an election yesterday. Things can get very confusing. They can get a little, wishy-washy, as they'd say. But things were never in doubt. Now, we do have a bearishness in the short-term indicator for the trend here. We are bullish on the intermediate term and the longer term. But if we look at the overall sentiment, the only thing that I'd say is slightly a concern to me here is that this thing is bonkers in terms of its bullishness. This thing is so bullish that you were at 60% on the 10th. And you continue to ride all the way up until we hit what looks like 72% on the 30th. That is a bonkers move because this indicator generally wants to stay between 60% and 40%. It wants to be around 50% because there's a tug of war that happens in the market. It's between bulls and bears. Which side are you on? Now, someone who is bearish on this stock for at least from the day here on the 29th down to the bottom here, it looks like on the first, probably made some money. But long term, it looks like you want to be bullish this stock. The thing that I would say though is that we don't see any bear key three or any bull key three when it comes to signals. I don't see any new signals coming through. I do see some small bulls that we had here. It looks like at the very end of October, but I wouldn't trust that I'm necessarily going to see anything crazy when it comes to the moves yet. Now, I would love to see it come back to the middle of the range. Now you ask, what is the middle of the range, Dustin? If we look down here at this actual indicator, the trade range itself, you can see the bottom of the range or the top of the range is $51. The bottom of the range is screaming higher. It's currently at 13. I don't even know if that's reasonably accurate, but the problem is because the volatility completely broke out. Yeah, those are the real numbers. So the problem is that the volatility completely mooned after the 11th. It went all the way up to 15, which if you look historically back, this thing essentially has never really had that. If you look at it on the weekly, it hasn't had that since March or May of 2024, which would have been right back here. Now, if we look at the type of volatility that we've seen, this is obviously much higher than any of the prices. Obviously, you had a major catalyst for DJT, him getting elected again. Now, if we look at the actual price correlation, it looks like the correlation of volatility is starting to roll over, which is nice because the volatility is starting to roll over. Now, you'd think that that'd be bad, but when volatility rolls over and price correlation rolls over, two negatives do make a positive. That's fantastic. Now, if I was going to say there's anything else that I really believe in, it's the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, 300 million shares traded over the past 2 days. You were seeing a humongous volume expansion while you were seeing price show an incredibly high bullish move. Now, this is not something that I would take necessarily very lightly. And the reason I say that is because when you're thinking about what can happen inside of a stock that has this kind of a catalyst, when volume and volatility are moving or when volatility is moving at the exact same time as price, that is an incredibly bullish sign when you're thinking about that this is going to be a long-term move. Now, I would say, again, if you watch my previous videos, I would say you want to use probably this $30 as your stop if you're going to even get long here. If I was in my opinion of what I would do, I'd probably use $30 as my stop. 25 would probably be the lowest, but I need a little bit of the tightening of the range here. I need the top to come down, I need the bottom to come up, and I need the range to get more reasonable. So when I see an expansion, I can actually truly believe it. Now, if we're looking at the ultra fast sentiment indicator, we already looked at this. You can see it doesn't seem crazy high when you think about the fact that this thing's got a crazy catalyst. Obviously, again, he got elected. So if we're looking at it being at 72% on the 30th and now we're down at 59%, that's actually a really reasonable move. But tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you long? Are you short? Do you like it? Do you love it? Is this even a good review? And before you go, subscribe to the New High newsletter. We send you 25 stocks to your inbox every single Sunday. Stocks between $5 and $20 that are breaking out. Stocks breaking out to 1 year highs. Stocks breaking out to all-time highs. It is a great list to get your trading week started. I'll talk to you soon.